When I die, I may not go to heaven. I don't know if they let cowboys in. If they don't, just let me go to Texas, boy, 'cause Texas is as close as I've been. New York couldn't hold my attention. Detroit City
when their circumstances are anything but normal. Living in the White House under the ever-present eyes of the Secret Service requires some getting used to, especially for a teenager.
I had every teenager's nightmare, a 24-hour-day chaperone by a member of the Secret Service. I decided that I would put a scarf on my head and put on a trench coat and come down the back stairs and blend into a tour. I followed the crowd out. At the end of the driveway, there's a guard there. So I went up to him and said, I'm Linda Johnson. And would you call my Secret Service agents and tell them that I'm leaving? I don't want them to get in trouble. And I wanted to prove I could do it, but then I thought, they've trusted me.
The Johnsons opened the doors of the White House to the nation and to the world. On 136 occasions, they entertained visiting heads of state, from exclusive performances to children's events. Hosting was truly a family affair.
Life in the Johnson family was very much like being on a family farm. Everybody had a job. One of my most poignant memories was getting to host the party at Christmas time for orphans from the metropolitan area in Washington. What really made it magical for me were the smiles, the glee, the exuberance. I am forever grateful to have had.
The whole setting was in the grand manner. I have never seen a lovelier ceremony.
There's so many landmines that you can step on when you're in the White House. When we drove up to the Shrine of the Immaculate Conception, I was stunned to see protesters. They were protesting because I was married. Very excruciating memory, and I wouldn't have done that for the world.
While their lives were very much in the public eye, the proximity of the White House residence to the Oval Office allowed the Johnsons to enjoy the rhythms of any American family.
We actually had more family quality time during the presidency than we'd ever had before. Daddy actually came home for lunch.
Even when he left the Oval Office, President Johnson was always on call and was known to hold meetings in all areas of the residence. Having his daughters and Lady Bird close by helped him deal with the pressures of the presidency.
She was his soulmate, and she gave him that peace that was so important and made it possible for him to survive in the White House.
And as their family grew, the new members provided a lighthearted diversion for the president.
Little Lyndon was a godsend. My father would just melt. The leader of the free world became a doting daddy.
Despite having the living quarters filled with family meals, squealing grandchildren, and friendly faces, it was impossible to escape the chaos outside the White House gates.
Civil rights marchers had marched right into the building with the tourists, had taken up their seats on the ground floor, and had refused to budge and sit in the White House.
You'd have the protesters marching outside my window saying, "Hey, hey."
That I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow skies are blue. the clouds are far behind me. Where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops, that's where you'll find me.
What your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
The Dick Van Dyke Show. Starring Dick Van Dyke. East German troops swooped down on the border between Red Berlin and the Free City in the pre-dawn hours to close the 66 points where movement between the sectors has been relatively free.
Maria, I just kissed a girl named Maria.
You get a lot to like with a Marlboro filter, flavor, and Starbucks.
Come to where the flavor is. Come to Marlboro country. Overnight, Colonel John H. Glenn became a national hero when he made the first American orbit of the Earth. His flight gave Americans encouragement that the U.S. might yet beat the Russians to the moon.
Marilyn Monroe was found dead in bed under circumstances that were in tragic contrast to her glamorous career as atomic talent.
It shall be the policy of this nation to regard any nuclear missile launched from Cuba against any nation in the Western Hemisphere as an attack by the Soviet Union on the United States.
Hello. I'm Mr. Red. A horse is a horse, of course, and no one can talk to a horse, of course. That is, of course, unless the horse is the famous Mr. Red. The federal officers are armed with a proclamation from President Kennedy urging Governor George Wallace to end his efforts to prevent 2 Negro students from registering at the university.
I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
Hi, you're enough. Mr.
Wrong.
Well, I got a hand, and I got a bell. I got a song to sing over this land. It's time of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's time that love
War on poverty in America.
3 communist PT boats attacked an American destroyer off the coast of Vietnam yesterday, and today President Johnson's response was hard and tough.
Extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
Vote for President Johnson on November 3rd. The stakes are too high for you to stay home.
The electorate rallied behind the president to deliver to him one of the largest pluralities ever.
double your fun with double mint gum.
Fighting has erupted again in the Dominican Republic tonight as United States Marines landed to protect American nationals there.
The American nation cannot, must not, and will not permit the establishment of another communist government.
June 3rd, Gemini 4 carried Majors James McDivitt and Edward White aloft for the famous Walk in Space. Major White strolled for...
6 days of rioting in a Negro section of Los Angeles left behind scenes reminiscent of war-torn cities. It took the appearance of 14,000 troops to bring an end to what both Negro and white leaders called insurrection by hoodlums.
I don't know when I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on.
Apollo 8, now 175,450 miles from Earth and about to be pulled in by the moon's gravity.
I want to tell you, we're just thrilled to be here in Cameron Bay, the world's biggest sand trap.
Hi, Richard Milhouse.
March from Selma to Montgomery to dramatize to the nation and to the world that people of color voted to register to vote.
The Selma police confront the peaceful demonstrators with tear gas and billy clubs. They call it Bloody Sunday. The White House is flooded with calls and telegrams condemning the violence and demanding the passage of new voting rights legislation.
Johnson understood that there were those moments when you had to act immediately to mobilize that public sentiment and get Congress to act.
It is wrong, deadly wrong, to deny any of your fellow Americans the right to vote in this country. Because it's not just Negroes, but really it's all of us who must overcome the crippling legacy of bigotry and injustice. And we shall overcome.
I watched that speech with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that evening. When Lyndon Johnson said, and we shall overcome, I looked at Dr. King. Tears came down his face. Dr. King said, we will make it from Selma. The Voting Rights Act will be passed.
April 1968. Dr. King goes to Memphis to lead the sanitation workers' strike.
And I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
Martin Luther King Jr. was killed tonight in Memphis, Tennessee.
Johnson uses the tragedy of Dr. King's death to hasten the passage of the Fair Housing Act, which bans discrimination in housing.
The morning after King's assassination, the president...
America is shocked and saddened by the brutal slaying tonight of Dr. Martin Luther King. I ask every citizen to reject the blind violence that has struck Dr. King, who lived by nonviolence.
Don't tell me not to live, just sit and putter.